Hi everyone, this is Danielle Dellaquila coming to you live from my favorite workplace, my front porch. I work for drjockers.com, and today I'm here to talk to you about 5 tips that are successful for weight loss. Many of you out there write to me on a daily basis talking about your desire to lose weight, your struggles, things that you've been struggling for years and years, and I'm here to hopefully make it easier for you to be able to apply some of these strategies that I have found to be helpful personally and in my work life. So the first one I want to talk to you about is consuming a diet that would be high or moderate, if you don't want to go that high, in fats. As we all know, fat through the years has been given a bad rap. But any of you who are fans of Dr. Jockers hopefully no longer believes that old myth. Fat does not, in fact, make us fat. Fat is one of those most satisfying nutrients out there. So it really, in myself, in my own life, I struggled being about 25 to 30 pounds heavier than I am now. And through consuming a diet higher in fat, this has really, really helped me. I noticed that when I consume high amounts of fats, I can go a significant amount of time without needing to eat. I often have watched younger children, my kids' friends growing up, who were eating hardly any fat in their diet. And they were constantly eating carbohydrates. And it was as if they needed to eat every 10 minutes. And to me, I can, I wake up in the morning, say I wake up at 8 o'clock. I really don't even have a meal until about noon, maybe even 1 o'clock. So essentially, I almost skip breakfast every day, eat a good sized lunch. And I really do contribute this to the fact that I'm able to eat about 60 to 70% of my calories on a daily basis in the form of fat. Some of my favorite fats: avocado, coconut oil. I do tell people to try to consume between 2 to 4 tablespoons a day each of coconut oil and extra virgin olive oil. Not only are they extremely satiating, but they're great. And, coconut oil has excellent saturated fat, which of course we've come to fear, but the saturated fat is not the demon that we all once thought it was. And the monounsaturated fats for the the extra virgin olive oil, as well as the avocados, are extremely heart healthy. So consume tons and tons and tons of fat. Also, great fats would be nuts and seeds. Many of us think that if it is in the form of animal fat, it might be bad for us, but that is not the case. We've got Laureen talking about how she loves avocados. Yes, Laureen, me too. Happy that you enjoy them. So anyways, some other of my favorite fats would be grass-fed butter, grass-fed ghee, grass-fed yogurt, grass-fed milk, any sort of grass-fed cheeses. So quality does in fact matter when we're talking about animal products and their fats. So we really want to focus on pasture-raised meats. We want to focus on grass-fed meats as well. So if it's beef, usually the term is grass-fed. If it's chicken or any other sort of poultry, it's usually referred to as pasture-raised, or eggs. So my next tip for the day would be to consume high amounts of fiber, mostly in the form of fibrous vegetables. So of course there are a lot of grains out there that contain copious amounts of fibers, but these are the ones, they also contain lots of carbohydrates that aren't necessarily nutrient dense. So we want to get the most bang for our buck as far as fiber goes. And those would be found in, some of my favorite vegetables. We've got kale, collard greens, Swiss chard, spinach, lots of greens. So those are nutrient dense, loaded with vitamin A, vitamin K, some good fat soluble vitamins. Make sure when you consume these types of vegetables that you're also consuming them with fat, so that these fat soluble vitamins can be in fact processed and absorbed best in your body. Some of my other favorite fibers, avocado. So avocado is one of those foods that contains tons of fat and fiber, so you get both of those. And that's why I say eat an avocado every day, and you really can't go wrong. Let's see, some of my other favorite fibrous vegetables: cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, of course. So fat and fiber help you feel full. If you've ever been a weight loss client of mine, you might have heard me say that more than once. Came up with that a few years ago, and I really do enjoy saying that. Fat and fiber help you feel full. Okay, my third tip for strategies to lose weight is to consume a diet that's lower in carbohydrates. So carbohydrates elicit a couple of different responses when we consume them. So carbohydrates increase our blood glucose, and in response to that, our blood insulin level will increase. And so we have this spike in insulin, and then if you're in spike in blood glucose, and then if your insulin is responsive, you have a spike in insulin, and then down goes the blood glucose. And that's sort of that beginning of what I call the carbohydrate roller coaster. So many people feel hungry in response to their blood glucose levels. So if your blood glucose levels go up, you feel satiated, but as soon as they start going down, and oftentimes if you're eating a meal that has a lot of carbohydrates in it, you're going to immediately have that decrease, and half hour later, you're going to feel hungry all over again. So say for breakfast, for your first meal of the day, it's best to consume something like pasture-raised eggs, sauteed in some good quality grass-fed butter, rather than a bowl of cereal, especially cereal that's been sweetened. So you've got the double whammy of a lot of carbohydrates that are in the grains to begin with, and then you add sugar on top of that. And it's a recipe for, starting to be hungry, 20 minutes later. So instead of feeling like food has control over you, you end up having control over food because you're regulating your blood glucose levels, which is really what weight loss is all about. Being able to regulate blood and insulin glucose levels, extremely important in the success of your weight loss. So let's see, I have a question from Marie Walsh. And she said, do you eat them mostly raw or cooked? And I think she's referring to vegetables. I like a combination myself, Marie, and it really does depend on your gut. So some people with gut infections have a really difficult time digesting their raw vegetables. So that might be something to pay attention to. If you don't have any, I say try to do half and half. Half of them raw, half of them cooked, but most importantly, I try to consume them with fat so that you really absorb as efficiently as possible all of the fat-soluble vitamins that are in there. So, and recipes, Marie, go to our website. We have hundreds of recipes that are wonderful, wonderful for all sorts of vegetables. Some that I have posted on there, and some that Dr. Jockers has had on there, and his library of recipes is amazing. So please check out our recipe page on our website. The fourth tip I would like to talk about is normalizing your cortisol levels. So this isn't something that most people think about when they are trying to lose weight. They may not even know what their cortisol levels are. So the important part of, so what is cortisol to begin with? It's our stress hormone. Many of us go through periods of our life where stress is increased. If you're one of those people who are able to go without stress your whole life, more power to you. I am so excited for you. But I know in myself, I go through periods of stress. And when we are stressed, our cortisol levels rise. So cortisol is also that hormone that helps us get out of bed in the morning. So as soon as we start getting exposed to light in the morning, that's when our cortisol levels rise. And this is when they are supposed to be at their peak, is really about 45 minutes after you wake up, after the light shined in, after you get up out of bed. And then what happens with cortisol is if it's a normal rhythm, as the day goes along, it gently starts decreasing. And by bedtime, it should be lower. And throughout the night, it should be the lowest. If you have trouble sleeping, you may have high cortisol levels at nighttime, and you may want to work on ways to lower your cortisol. They have had shown in studies that high levels of cortisol contributes to especially belly fat accumulation. So if you are maybe one of those people who tend to carry most of their fat around their belly, you may in fact have a cortisol dysregulation. And my favorite thing to do about that, one is it's easy, a supplement. So we have cortisol defense on our website. That's one of my favorite supplements because it's got a combination of different herbs that not only helps lower and regulate cortisol, but it also helps regulate the rhythm throughout the day so that it'll be lower when you're ready to go to sleep and it'll be higher in the morning and help you feel alive and awake and ready to start the day. Meditation is another great way to regulate your cortisol levels. This is something that can be difficult to work into your daily practice, but I do believe that 5 minutes of meditation can go a very long way as far as normalizing cortisol levels. So again, meditation, mindfulness, as well as that cortisol defense. And if you're interested in getting that cortisol defense on our website, you can use my discount code Nutrition10 and save 10%. My last tip for trying to, we do have another question. Let's see if I can answer this. This is from Deborah. I have diabetes type 2. I do well for about 4 to 5 weeks eating this way and then fall back into eating carbs and craving sugars. I get bored with the food. How can I stop this? Yes, Deborah, this you're not alone here. I would wonder if in fact you are not consuming enough calories. There are many people who practice low carbohydrate diets and don't eat enough calories. So you really need to make sure that you are balancing the macronutrients as well as getting enough calories. So someone who's got type 2 diabetes, I generally try to keep them at about 15% carbohydrates a day. So I don't know. So maybe for you, maybe you're going too low. Maybe you're only going 5% and maybe you need a little bit more. I myself feel better when I'm at about 15% carbohydrates. If I go too low, I tend to not have the energy to exercise, and that doesn't make me feel great. But I would say also, Deborah, to make sure you're getting enough of those fats and fibers so that you're not craving the sugars. So if you're interested, Deborah, please feel free to email me at nutrition@drjockers.com. And if you want some more personalized assistance, I could certainly help you. I hope that was helpful. And the last that I want to share with you is balance your gut bacteria. So it all goes back to the gut, whether you are healthy or unhealthy, the environment of your gut is extremely important. So I can remember reading this study about 6 years ago. I had always known that aspartame and artificial sweeteners are extremely bad for you. And I also knew it was associated with people who are overweight. And I often wondered, like, how could something that has no calories actually contribute to weight gain? I think I can remember hearing a story about Richard Simmons, if any of you are old enough to remember Richard Simmons, and how he lost a ton of weight. And he said he stopped drinking diet soda. Well, I understand that diet soda is not good for us in so many ways, but I didn't necessarily understand why it contributed to his weight loss. Now, after reading this study 6 years ago, there was a study done that noted that even just one dose of artificial sweetener changed the microbiome. And what it did was it killed the good bacteria that promote good metabolism in the body. So I think you've all heard of trying, maybe or maybe not, trying to balance your Firmicutes and Bacteroidetes. They're these two different forms of bacteria that when balanced, you generally have a healthy metabolism. But if you have too many firmicutes, you can tend towards being overweight. It's definitely associated with overweight and obesity. So how do we balance the gut bacteria? Well, my favorite way is to eat fermented foods. If you enjoy the taste of them, if you like to make them, they're extremely easy. I think in the next coming weeks, I'm going to do a video of how to make them, so you could join me here and learn how to make some very, very simple fermented foods. They're extremely expensive at the grocery store. I just bought a pint of gingered carrots yesterday, and it was $9. Or I can take, 4 carrots that I get from my farm share and do it myself and add some ginger, and it's really easy and it's ready in about 5 days. So that's my favorite way. And the reason why I think consuming fermented vegetables is the best way to try to balance your gut bacteria is because there are hundreds of millions of different organisms found in fermented foods, so many more than you can ever get from a probiotic. And we do have some very good probiotics on our website, but you just really cannot compare the quantity of probiotics that are found in fermented food versus in a pill. But if you're one of those people who do not enjoy consuming fermented food, I highly recommend getting any of the probiotics on our store. They're all very good quality. They all survive the harsh climate of the hydrochloric acid in our stomach, and they survive until they go down into the large intestines, where they set up shop and help you have a healthy metabolism to be able to be successful in your weight loss. Another thing that's really good and important, so once you get the good bacteria in your gut, you have to feed them properly. So you need to consume lots of very good soluble fibers. Things like plantains are great for, they call them prebiotics. Things like onions, some garlic, Jerusalem artichoke, sweet potato, things like that are all very good for feeding your good gut bacteria. So not only do we need to establish a presence of them, but then we need to feed them. And staying away from foods that are high in sugar is really important, because those are going to be the things that feed your bad bacteria. So we really want to create an environment in our gut to be able to encourage healthy weight loss. So I have a message from Karen. How much should we consume daily of fermented vegetables? Great question, Karen. It really doesn't take that much. I tell people 2 tablespoons a day. If you really enjoy it, because they have such a pungent taste, most people can't consume a ton of it. But I would say if you go for 2 tablespoons a day, add it to your daily salads, you'll be good. Janice is saying sugar is the enemy. I know, Janice. It's, I often say it's this legalized drug that is, not only available, but it's actually marketed to our children. So, yep, the sugar industry and lobbyists are very strong, and unfortunately, it's a problem. So let's see if I have any other comments. Selena is wondering what could be causing belly bloating. Selena, this could be contributed to possibly SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. As I just mentioned, the bacteria that we are trying to develop in our large intestines are in our large intestines, and that's where they're supposed to reside, like 90%. Maybe we have about 10% residing in our small intestine, but sometimes what happens is these bacteria will migrate into our small intestine, and then they're living there, and they really shouldn't be living there. And the carbohydrates that we consume end up fermenting these the bacteria end up fermenting the carbohydrates we consume, and they cause that distension of the belly, that gas, that bloating, that really uncomfortable. So if you're suspicious of this, Selena, there are things you can do. I've worked with many people with SIBO. If you're interested in a test, you can find one on our website, and then maybe come to the conclusion of where your belly bloating is coming from. All right, everyone. Well, I really appreciate having this morning time with you all. I'm going to try to be doing this on a daily basis, not daily basis, a weekly basis. And I'm thinking I'm going to try to make it a sort of 5 tips for this whatever week it is, and come up with different subjects. So I hope you will tune in with me. Hope to do this again next Thursday or Friday. Have a good weekend, everyone. Take care.